Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a lovely day at Prescott. We are celebrating the arrival at Prescott of the British Hillclimb Championship. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Welcome if you're here in person. It's lovely to have a live crowd back at Prescott after this awful period of COVID. If you're watching online, welcome, particularly if you're watching from overseas. If you're in Australia, what are you doing up at this time of day? I'm Chris Druitt, speaking from the start line, and we welcome messages from all around the world, so if you have any messages to send, please send them in. We are starting the afternoon's activity with some more practice runs. Generally Saturday of a two-day meeting is practice runs for the following day's competition runs, but this afternoon, later on this afternoon, we do have some competition runs in the Bugatti Owners Club Championship. Bugatti Owners Club owns Prescott, has done since 1937, and before cars start coming up to the line, let's see if we could get a quick view of the hill climb. Here we are. That's the start line across the track. There's a pre-start line and there's a pre-start line. You see the black lines on the track indicate that at that point lots of cars spin their rear wheels or front wheels if they're front wheel drive, try and get some heat into the tires, and then after the pre-start line they trundle up to the start line and wait for the green light. Unlike drag racing, you do have a bit of time to gather your wits before the green light goes. It's not a test of reaction, and we'll watch this car on the hill. And as you can see on the screen, we get times at 64 feet. We'll explain why that is. We get a speed at the bridge and midway at the S's, and then the final time. So we're tracking the cars all the way up. 64 feet, well, 2 seconds to 64 feet equates to 1 G, 1 force of gravity of acceleration. Let's see how Robert goes. Robert Kappa in this little Jedi rockets off the line. First 64 feet in 2.73, which is pretty good. Jedi, well known for making tiny race cars with 600cc engines. Robert is round Orchard and now in the hairpin at Ettores. A little bit of downhill and then steeply-ish uphill to the left-hand hairpin at Pardon. If you're looking on the screen and you think there's a piece of string on the screen, there isn't. It's showing the camera positions, and Robert Kappa is just approaching the S's, which we now call Tom Road corner, and then a right-hand semicircle, and then a dash up to the finish. And we'll pick up a time for Robert in a second or so. It's a 49.02. He's followed by Chris Howard Harris in an OMS Hornet again in the 600cc class. And it's great to see a couple of 600 cars. Often in the past they've had to be linked with the 1.1 litre class, so it's great to see them have their own class on their own. Chris Howard Harris is heading for semicircle. Meanwhile, Bob Penrose in the 1 litre OMS is safely on his way round Ettores and into Pardon. We've got a time for Chris Howard Harris of 46.88. Robert Penrose approaches the S's. Nice neat line around the S's. Couple of gear changes up to semicircle. We'll see him around semicircle, and then pretty much a straight line up to the finishing line. Completes his run in 49.22. Here's Ben Hamer, another OMS. This one with a 750cc bike engine in the back. Been a bit of a revolution in hill climbing in the last few years with the predominance of tiny cars with powerful bike engines. One of the most powerful of which has just taken off. We'll catch that car in a second, but in the meantime here we are. Here's Adam Greenan in the Empire Evo 2 with the 1.1 litre Suzuki engine. These are immensely quick cars. A lot of them with, of course, with the bike engine transversely across the frame behind the driver and chain drive to the differential. More modern ones have got a much more sophisticated fore and aft bike engine with a sharp drive to the differential. Adam Greenan, good time, 39.02. Richard Summers in the DJ Firehawk, 82 miles an hour through the speed trap at Bridge. You'll see Richard's son Alex a bit later on, who's lying second in the championship at the moment. DJ Firehawk. Built by Del Quigley. There are a number of small manufacturers of Hillclimb cars having great success. Time for Richard Summers, 42.14. Got Mark Lawrence heading into and through Pardon in the prototype car PCD Saxon, which was the pre-runner of the cars that Graham White Jr. is making up in Scotland at the moment. So Mark on his way towards the S's and finishes with exactly 42 seconds. Steve Marr in the PCD. Is out of Pardon and heading into the S's. Graham White up in Aberdeen is making the Raptor and the Predator. Following Steve Marr, who finishes with a 41.37, we've got James Moore in Empire. Empire, another of the successful manufacturers of Hillclimb cars. Empire Evo, Empire Wraith, we'll see later on with its highly sophisticated aerodynamics. James with the 1 litre engine, 81 miles an hour through Bridge, and finishes with a time of 43.3. He's followed by Mark Schlanker in another force, 1 litre. Can he get it under the 43s? I think he might well do. 46.38 at the semicircle. Yeah, he does. 42.63 for Mark. Excellent. And rounding Pardon is Keith Weeks in an image. I'm not sure if the image is unique. It's neat and tiny and quick with its 1 litre engine. Again in the early 43s, 43.56 for Keith. Next up is Richard Weaver, who we all know from his exploits with the flatbed truck at Shelsley. He's passed that on to somebody else and is taking up hill climbing in this Formula Ford Van Diemen. And I think Richard is currently lying in the top trio in the Midland Hillclimb Championship, which is based on class times all through the season. Richard is sharing this car with his son Tom. It's a great family battle. Formula Ford, wide track Van Diemen, running in strictly Formula Ford trim, so road tyres, 50.98 for Richard. Here's Les Buck in the Brilliant Mistral, which was a Formula Ford car made by Mr. Pringle and Mr. Bennett, and they made, I think, 14 of these, and there aren't many left. I think Les is the only one in this country, as far as I know. But he's a regular competitor in all the hill climbs. Nice to have a number of Formula Ford cars here this afternoon. We normally have 1 or 2, we've got 5, which which is great to see. Les Buck finishes with a 51.08. He's closely followed by Jeremy Jones, early Swift Formula Ford from 1993. And here's Nicky Cottrell in the Lotus 61, Lotus's last production racing cars before they stopped making racing cars on a production basis to concentrate on road cars. And there's a very enthusiastic band of Lotus drivers who compete in the Paul Matty Championship. They were at Shelsley last weekend. Nicky is about to finish and does so with a 51.68, and she's followed by Richard Walker, who's sharing the Mark IV Jedi with Richard Kappa. And here he is rounding Tom Road. Tom Road was a great engineer, great author, and played a big part in rescuing the canal system in this country from the dereliction it had fallen into after World War II. Richard finishes with a 45.78. He's followed by Bob Penrose. We saw Robert in this car earlier on. This is Bob Penrose. Navigating the S's, heads for the semicircle. This will be in the late 40s, I think. Might get it just under the 50 mark. Yeah, 48.99 for Bob. Excellent. We saw Adam Greenan earlier in the Empire Evo. His brother Andrew. They're both quick. It's a very quick car. Can this be under the 40-second mark? Yes, it can. 39.83. Brilliant. Remember, these are practice runs for tomorrow's running of the British Hillclimb Championship. There's Debbie Dunbar, the little DJ Firehawk. 87 through Bridge Speed Trap. Debbie is engaged to Alex Summers. Not sure when the wedding is due to take place with this horrible COVID. It might have been postponed a time or two, which is such a shame. Debbie is one of our quickest lady drivers on the hill climb scene, and she just over the 40 seconds, 40.8 for Debbie. On the line, Harry Pick in the OMS. Look by Steve Owen up in Yorkshire, of course. He's made more than 100 hill climb cars. This is the 3000M version, competing in the 1.1 litre class. So this is class I, which is racing cars up to 1100 cc's. Harry, that's up to 1.1 litre unblown, supercharged or turbocharged. But it's quick nevertheless. Will it be under the 40 seconds? Yes, it just 39.99. Harry will be pleased to squeeze it just under the 40-second mark. I think a little bit of sweeping to be done, so a little pause. So we've got the red flag at the moment. Just somebody might have just brought a little bit of gravel onto the track, which of course is not fair on following drivers. So red flags are going in. our next car is coming to the line. It's Liam Cooper in the Force TA, sharing with Olivia. So it's a family affair again. So 2.39 off the line for Liam. And what's his speed at bridge? 90. Quickly round bridge. Alex told me he's getting more than 3.5 G of lateral acceleration round Orchard Corner. Just gives an idea of the downforce and the grip available to these special hill climb cars. Liam, of course, in the 1600 Force TA, records a 41.99. Alan Warburton sharing with his son David. And where are they? David is lying 10th in the championship at the moment, Alan 17th. So this is a father-son battle. Alan's about 6'7" tall. How he squeezes himself into this little car, I don't know. But he does, and he tries it extremely effectively. This with the Hayabusa engine 4.5 shaft drive to the differential. It's a very clever, complex transmission system, because the shaft comes into the differential at a certain angle, which involves a certain amount of geometrical fiddling. Alan's time, 39.82. Charles Hall is off the line, was a sensation of the first Prescott meeting this year. Hadn't seen a hill climb before, hadn't seen a hill climb car before, jumped in and immediately, I think, qualified, or would have qualified 5th if he had been entered in the British Hill Climb Championship. But it's good to see Charles back in the Empire Wraith. I was mentioning earlier, with its very sophisticated aerodynamics, partly developed by Willem Toet, who was the chief aerodynamicist for the Ferrari Formula 1 team some years ago. Charles, 38.72. David Tatham, the 1 litre OMS. The Hornet, the little Hornet with space frame chassis. Slight oversteering moment in the entrance to the S's, recovered nicely. Let's see, round semicircle, hugging the inside of the track at semicircle. 42.06 for David Tatham, good run. He's followed by Tom Weaver. We just saw Richard in this car a little bit earlier. This is son Tom, who's I think in his 2nd season hill climbing, but certainly getting the hang of it quickly. He's very quick. Neat, tidy line. Let's watch Tom round semicircle, inches from the inside of the course, and it's a 50.47. Car coming up to the line, spinning rear wheels, is Jason Tunnicliffe, Empire Evo 2. Luckily carries an onboard battery, so even if the engine stops, quickly restarted. There's a bit of a tyre battle going on in hill climbing at the moment, and interestingly, Jason has Avon tyres on the front and Pirelli's on the back. But it is the battle between Avon and Pirelli has meant some fairly rapid advances in tyre technology for hill climbing. Ultra sticky tyres. 97, Jason, round Orchard is very quick indeed. 1600cc Empire Evo, unblown. Quickly through S's, no dramas, using every inch of the road. Slightly oversteering, accelerating out of S's, and a slight understeering moment around the semicircle. Might have got his little heart pitter-pattering a bit, but nevertheless a quick time, 38.92 for Jason Tunnicliffe. We're looking for customers on the line. So we've got, this weekend we've got rounds 17 and 18 of the 28 rounds of the British Hillclimb Championship, and people score a total of their best 22 results. In other words, they drop 6 of their lowest scores throughout the season. And Wallace Minges leads the way at the moment, 5 or so points ahead of Alex Summers, and 40 or so points ahead of Sean Gould, who actually is our record holder here at Prescott. Darren Gumley in another force, the Force TA. He's running Avon tyres front and back. Again, 1600cc Hayabusa with chain drive to the differential, and off the line in 2.35, which is pretty good. Speed round Orchard 92. Fastest recorded speed round Orchard I've seen is 113, but Sean Gould says they're going around much quicker than that because they're accelerating still after the end of the speed trap. Darren had to lift off a bit going into the S's, which will have cost him a tenth or two. So it'll be in the 42s, I reckon. 41.68 for Darren Gumley. Neil Cole's well on his way with a 2.34 off the line now. From Torres to Pardon. It's quite a steep downhill, so you accelerate very rapidly out of Torres as long as you get the line through that right-hand hairpin correct. Neil in an OMS 28, current version of the OMS with a 1600. Again, most of them are running the Suzuki Hayabusa engine. 42.24 for Neil Coles, followed by Einon Price, always quick. 2.12 off the line is a very rapid start. Excellent, and 100 miles an hour through the bridge into Orchard. This will be a quick run, might be in the 37s. Nearly nudged the bank out of S's, but gathered it all together. It's mid-38, 38.52 for Einon. Here's Olivia, we saw Liam just now. Olivia Cooper, daughter of former Shelsley record holder Richard Brown. So his hill climbing is very much in the family. Let's see if Olivia can get in the early 40s. I think she will with a 40.86. Good run. We saw Alan Warburton, dad, his son David. And David is currently 10th in the standings for the Hillclimb Championship. 2.2 off the line, speed under the bridge. Let's see, 101, quickest so far today. If you have a chance to look at this car in the paddock, which if you're here you might have a chance to do have a look at the engine transmission system. It's very clever because it's taking the drive out of the bike engine across to a shaft which makes its way to the differential back. David should be in the high 37s, low 38s, let's see, 38.72. Remember, it's practice. Zach Zammit, great to see Zach, who's managed to escape from where he lives in Malta. Earlier in the season, he was stuck on the island, hasn't been able to compete. He's sharing the car with Charles Hill, 93 through the speed trap, so Zach might be a little bit out of practice. I'm not sure if this is his first hill climb since escaping from Malta. but it's great to see him here again. Empire Wraith, of course, as you can tell from the shape of it, we slightly oversteery first S-bend, but no dramas. I don't think he's lost any of his speed. 37.99. He'll be pleased to have a practice run in the 37s. Tricia Davis on the line in the Reynard, ex-Formula 3 Reynard, but with a 2-litre V8 TKD engine designed and built by her husband, Terry. Beautiful little V8 engine. Two motorcycle cylinder heads and blocks on a common crankcase. Tricia, who was Bugatti Owners Club spares controlled the Bugatti spares, but a long-time Marshall competitor and enthusiast. Good to see Tricia pedaling the TKD powered Reynard. Can Trish get under the 42nd knot? Probably not. It'll be 41-42, I guess. But we got some fast women drivers. We saw Debbie, we got Tricia, and she's followed by Nicola Dearden in the Dallara. We'll have a look at that in a second. Here she is into Ed Torres. Time for Tricia, 44.41. Nicola taking it fairly cautiously round Ed Torres and up into the park, sharing the car with Andrew Henson. Interesting car on the line, we'll see in a second. Let's just watch Nicola navigating her way through the S's. Here's Jonathan Evans, interesting Swallow DR14, Swallow Formula 3 car, small manufacturer of cars for Formula Ford, Formula 3, with a 2-litre engine. So these cars are competing in the up to 2-litre normally aspirated engine racing car class. Jonathan is finished with a 47.08. He's followed by Josh Moss in the 1999 Dallara Formula 3 car with a 2-litre Vauxhall engine. Vauxhall engine producing about, getting on for 300 horsepower. 41.97, good time. Tim Elmer follows in another Dallara 399, again 2 litres, but this is a V8. This is another TKD engine in the back. Tim, long-time hill climber, lives locally in Stratford-on-Avon. The car sports a new engine cover. So Tim heads for the semicircle. It'll be a 41, 42-ish, 42.5, 42.54 for Tim Elmer. Here's Mike Tregonning up from Cornwall in the MP88 Pilbeam. Pilbeam was the leading manufacturer of Hillclimb cars in the 70s, 80s, into the 90s. But Mike Pilbeam then stopped and retired. His son Kieran engineered Mark Webber in F1. Mike's will be powered by a Duratec engine. Now, have a look, if you're here, have a look at this little car. Jonathan Varley's GWR Predator, but with a brilliantly neat installation of the 2-litre V8 TKD engine. It's just a miracle of packaging, and Jonathan's really getting the hang of it. It'll be under 40 seconds. It is well under with a 39.04. Tiny little car, plenty of 2-litre power. Andrew Colburn on the line with an ex-Formula 3 Van Diemen from 2002, when Van Diemen tried to build Formula 3 cars, competing against Dallara, but it was a competition that Dallara were inevitably, with their firepower, were likely to win. 83 through the trap at Bridge. So Andrew successfully round S's, taking it relatively cautiously. In the mid-40s, I think. Now he can head for the finish, after which there's a return road back down to the paddock, so we don't see the cars coming down like we do at other hill climbs. 43.79, respectable time for Andrew. So we're heading for Class K, racing cars up to 2 litres, but with forced induction, i.e. supercharged or turbocharged. And the first runner in this class is coming to the line. It's Richard Spedding in the GWR Raptor 2 with a supercharged 1340cc bike engine, proudly carrying cumber number 4, indicating that in the last Hillclimb Championship 2019, Richard got 4th place. Oh, I just got a nice message from Australia. Didn't have time to read it. Maybe Richard can put it back on the screen, but it's great to... What a fantastic way to spend an evening locked down in Victoria. Yes, really tough. Thanks, Benjamin. Nice message, and we really sympathise with the horrible time Australia is going through with this rotten pandemic. Richard Spedding brings the Raptor up to the line. We've got an interview with Richard in the box for if we need it. Really interesting on the technology of the little GWR Raptor. This one with the engine transversely behind Richard with a chain drive to the rear axle. 99. I bet he wishes he could do 1 more mile an hour under a bridge, but it'll be Richard, I would say, in the 37s. Don't forget this is practice, so most of these leading competitors in the championship keep a newest set of tyres for the runoff, and of course tomorrow there'll be 2 top runoffs to score points for round 17 and 18 of the championship. 39.13, so Richard taking it relatively easy. Good afternoon, Chris. Well, good afternoon, Eric. Central Portugal reporting in. All the best to everyone, especially Rich Danby. Oh, and Scotty, can we move up to 3rd instead of 4th place? Yes, well, Scotty's determined to do his best, Eric. Meanwhile, I hope you're in lovely, warm sunshine in central Portugal. Dave Wickham, gutted not to be with you this weekend, a victim of the ping-demic. Yes, hundreds of thousands of people have been pinged as having been in contact with someone with COVID, so they have to isolate for 10 days. The result is empty supermarket shelves because we haven't got so many people at home isolated and not packing. And similarly, a great shortage of truck drivers as well. Stephen Williams, watching this and watching BSB, British Superbikes, on a different device. Who said men couldn't double task? Well, no one said that. Keep up the good work. We will. We definitely will. We saw Tricia Davis a bit earlier with the Reynard. Here's Terry, who builds these engines, very much in demand among the Hillclimb fraternity. He's a genius at cobbling 2 bike engines on a common crankcase, 2.48. It was a slightly hesitant start for Terry, 86 under the bridge. It's not easy to get a racing car off the line. It's a fine line between too much wheel spin and stalling the engine. But Terry's going fine now. Takes a tight line round. Pardon, hairpin. Let's watch him in the S's. Using every inch of the available track. And I think this will be in the 42s or so, maybe in the 43s. Let's see. 42.82 for Terry Davis. We saw Nicola Dearden in the Dallara 394 just now. His car owner, Andrew Henson, down from Lancashire, with the Dallara with its 2-litre Vauxhall engine. Double-driven car in Class K, I beg his pardon, yes, K1, 2 litres with normally aspirated engines. So this 2-litre class was first introduced in 1988. I used to call it the gentleman's class. Needless to say, that was the class I went into. But we had some great needle battles in the 80s and 90s. Andrew heads for the finish. 41.45, good time for that car. Kevin Craven in the Swallow DR14 that we saw just now in the hands of Jonathan Evans. It's good to share a Hillclimb car. Sharing the tyre changing, battery plugging in, putting the thing on and off the trailer. Doing it on your own is quite hard work. DR14 rounding semicircle. I'm not sure if it's a Vauxhall engine, but Kevin does a 45.21. Here's another force. This is back to Class K2. This is Richard Alexander in the forced induction 1300cc force PC. Not sure if it's a supercharger or a turbocharger. Superchargers have all sorts of advantages in terms of providing the grunt from low down. On the other hand, they do consume a certain amount of power, which a turbocharger doesn't. Let's see how Richard gets on in the S's. He's followed by Ben Stevenson. Here's Ben in the Empire Evo 2. Has an oversteering moment halfway around Ed Torres, which will have cost him a tenth or two. I missed the time that we had for the Swallow. But Ben, 97 at Ridge, which is a very quick for a 1300 blown engine. When I say blown, I mean turbocharged or supercharged, not blown up. Is it under 40 seconds? Not quite. 40.03 from Ben. Simon Moyes is quick. Lying 13th in the British Hillclimb Championship at the moment. 2.18 off the start in his Gould GR59 with a Hayabusa engine. (106 through bridge). This is going to be quick. I think it'll be in the 37s, possibly. Maybe early 38, early 39. 39.36 for Simon Moyes. On the line, John Chalmers with the Wrought Formula 3, but with a really interesting engine. This is a Super Suzuki, placed fore and aft with a shaft drive back to the differential. So it's running a Suzuki gearbox, but out of the gearbox comes a shaft rather than a chain. John is always quick. When not taking all that much notice of these times because, remember, these are guys having their second practice run today. They are being offered, I think, if we have time, being offered a third practice run. John, 41.16, but they will certainly have one more practice run tomorrow so that they can have practice run in the conditions in which they'll be competing for the championship. Kelvin Broad, another force, transverse, Hayabusa engine, chain drive to the back. Kelvin run the semicircle, 39.98, he'll be pleased to be under the 40-second mark. On the line is Paul Hames, who is 8th currently in the British Hillclimb Championship. GR59 Gould, such a neat little car. We'll interview with Sean Gould as well, which we might see later on in the day. How's Paul's 64 feet? Pretty good, 2.41. Is he over the 100 mark? He is at the bridge, 106. Probably still accelerating after the timing beam. So it could well have been in the 110 mark. Gets the power down out of Pardon. Praying that we don't have rain, because the S's can be pretty treacherous on a wet track. Paul, 39.06, good time, followed by Pete Tatham in the OMS 25. Steve Owens, OMS carbon fibre tub, of course. Booster 1300 across the back, and 102 through the bridge speed trap for Pete. Disappears around semicircle, reappears around semicircle. Good time, 39.62, followed by Ian Tucker in a similar car. It's an OMS 28. Class K3, which is for racing cars up to 2 litres with a normally aspirated motorbike engine and integrated gearbox. So 2 cars in this class, Ian Tucker and Lee Griffiths. Here's Ian Tucker. Lee Griffiths has just left the line with a 2.36. Taking it relatively cautiously, 46.36. Lee, I think, will be a bit quicker than that. 93 miles an hour through the speed trap. OMS 28 again. Slightly different line through the S's, but effective. Can he get under the 40s? He will, considerably. 39.35. Great run by Lee Griffiths. Brings us to the big racing car class, Class L, which is where a lot of the leaders in the British Hillclimb Championship compete. And I think the first runner is an interesting one. It's the Dallara Formula 3 chassis of Jack Cottrell, into which they've squeezed a Nicholson McLaren IndyCar engine. V8, of course. In Indy, it would have run with methanol and a turbocharger, but in hill climbing, it's on petrol and without. So, although at Indy, in qualifying, it probably produced about 1,000 horsepower. In hill climbing form, maybe 500-600. Enough, anyway. So here's Jack coming to the line. He's sharing with John, father and son. And this car engine combo is new to them this season. beautifully integrated engine into the back of the Dallara. .38 off the line, 100 miles an hour into bridge. We'll see. No, Jack has lifted off quite a lot. Neat and tidy, no problems at Ettores. Named, of course, after the great Ettore Brigatti, who started Brigatti Car Company, designer, brilliant engineer, revolutionary in many ways, Ettore Brigatti. And as I'm sure you all know, Prescott is the home of the Bugatti Owners Club, the shrine for Bugatti in the UK. Jack, fairly leisurely run. Clock still running, 58.29 for Jack Cotswold. Bernard Kevel, OMS 28 with a 2.8 litre PowerTech V8 engine. Sharing this car with Simon Andrews. Might well get into the top 12 runoff tomorrow. Bernard's taken it fairly leisurely, 43.81. Now Mark Coley in the Gould GR55, the shape of sort of early 2000s, late 1999 Hillclimb cars, when they were a bit bigger, the GR55, but the GR55 still holds the course record at Chesley Walsh, although I suspect that pretty soon it's going to come under threat. Much smaller Goulds with a big powerful engine and lost massive downforce, but Mark and his brother Andy have competed in this car for a number of years. It has a V6 Cosworth engine badged as an Opel, which was raced in the German DTM touring, well, call it touring car, Deutsche Tourenwagen Meisterschaft in Germany. 40.66 for Mark Coley. Here's Mrs. OMS, Lynn Owen, sharing the car with Steve. In the current OMS works car, 2.7 litre V8. And Stephen Lynn getting used to the V8 power provided by this engine. So Lynn heads for the finish with a 43.01. On the line, Graham Wynn, who sponsors the top 12 runoffs in his Gould GR59 with a 4 litre Jard engine that this year he's sharing with 6 times Hillclimb champion Scott Moran. We'll see Scotty in this car in a few minutes. Graham really enjoying sharing the car and picking up lots of pointers from Scott, and together they're developing the car. Graham in the S's. We'll catch a glimpse soon of Lindsay Summers sharing the DJ Firestorm with son Alex. Here she comes. Graham 101 through bridge, finishes with a 40.8. Lindsay Summers in the fearsome DJ Firestorm. .6 litre V8 in the back, Cosworth XD IndyCar engine. Plenty of power, not much weight. And Lindsay 43.97. We saw the GR55 just now, up to the line is Terry Graves, In the earlier Gould, the GR37, Gould first shot to prominence with the little Gould with a 2.5 litre Hart engine, with which Chris Kramer won the Hillclimb Championship in the 80s. Terry has got a 3.5 litre V8 in the back of this car. So this is really the shape of early 2000s, late 1999's hill climbing, still providing lots of fun, lots of thrills. So rounding semicircle, and to finish with a 42.4, Terry Graves in the GR37. Paul Alexander. We go back to forced induction cars up to 2 litres. Paul is sharing this car. I'm not sure if it's brothers or father-son, but sharing with Richard Alexander. This is Paul. Good start, 2.28, 100 miles an hour or so. No, 81 through bridge. It's quite a daunting corner. Orchard Corner. Sterling Moss used to describe it as one of his favourite corners, racetrack corners anywhere in the world. Now then, Paul will be in the mid-40s, I think, maybe a 44. It's a 44.67. It's all gone quiet for the moment. We've still got plenty of cars to come in the top class. If they want, well, they need to take a second practice run. They might even take a third later on. Gives me time to have a shout out for our gang of marshals who do great work. Ben Bonfield, watching this on lunch break. Look forward to seeing the British contenders in person next weekend down at Wiscombe Park, down near Honiton, right down on the south coast. Lovely hill climb in beautiful countryside. John Darmanin from Malta. Good afternoon from Malta. You'll be pleased, I'm sure, that Zach Zammit has got here. Thanks for the live stream. It's a great pleasure, John, both to have people watching all around the world and to have a crowd here. Anna Smith, watching outside the motorhome in Pembrey Country Park. Should be out cycling. No, much more sensible to be watching Prescott with a cold bevy. Yeah, Anna and Tony Smith, thanks for the message. Terrific. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Peter Hughes to take on the commentary. Talk to you a bit later on. We'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our live stream partner for today's British Hill Climb Championship and Cup meeting, Footman James. BHC Cup main sponsors Footman James have been at the heart of the classic vehicle movement for over 35 years and provide specialist classic vehicle insurance to cover owners, collectors, restorers and traders. Their classic car and classic bike insurance policies come with show and events cover as standard. Plus, you can tailor your policy to suit your needs with their flexible FJ Plus options. These options have everything from agreed value to track day cover And to find out more, please visit www.footmanjames.co.uk.
So we do now have a car on the pre-start line, about to get some heat into his tyres, come up onto the line for a second practice run of the day. And it is the 200 car, in fact. So away then goes John Cockle in the 200 car. Just a fraction over the 2 seconds from the initial run, and through Victoria's now. On up towards Pardon, the left-hand hairpin, which he goes into now. Away the Dallara, Formula 3 chassis, of course, goes on up through the S's towards semicircle. Over the line, we get a time 40.66 seconds from John Cottrell. Meanwhile, going around the Tories at the moment. The OMS 2.8 litre machine of Simon Andrews, car number 201. Fractionally slower to the 64-foot mark than the previous car, but good speed under the bridge at 92 miles an hour. And Sammy, and we wait for a time as it goes under the finish line. 41.36 for Simon Andrews. On the line now, Andrew Coley in one of the all-conquering Ghouls, the GR55 2.5 litre machine, car number 202 with the Cosworth V6 engine. Power in it, and away he goes, but stalls unfortunately. So just sorting things out on the start line at the moment for Andrew Coley. Just repositioning him on the line. And gets fired back up, and the Gold getting ready to go away once again. And 202, as I say, Andrew Coley on the line, another of the shared cars. It's in gear, and away he goes cleanly this time. 104 miles an hour, one of the quicker times then under the bridge for the 202 machine, the Gould GR55. Andrew Coley goes around the Tories now. Into the left-hand Pardon. Looks like a good run from Andrew so far. He can come back of semi, and over the line 39.89, so another sub 40-second run there. Andrew Coley there with that 202. I think we've just got a momentary delay. There's a piece of stray bodywork, I believe, to be retrieved by our always hard-working marshals. Do a terrific job. As Chris mentioned, we always have to say a huge thank you for them, because they're here in all winds and weathers, purely voluntary, and it's they that make British motorsport happen, including here at Prescott. So thank you to them. Looks like that's been retrieved, and we should be able to get back underway with the runs very soon now. Next car up will be the 2.7 litre OMS of Stephen Owen, car 203, who's waiting patiently down at the bottom of the hill to come up to the start line. So he comes up to the line in the OMS. Steve Owen is to take the next run, Prescott Hill. Just getting him lined up perfectly on the start line. Has to be exact, of course. If he's over the line, then it won't, timing gear won't work. If he's short of the line, then he builds up speed before he trips the timing gear. So it has to be spot on. Under the bridge, 96 miles an hour for the OMS, up to Ettores now. And around the right-hander, a little bit of a twitch on the exit there, a little bit wide as comes through the left to Pardon. Looking a pretty neat run overall as he comes on up the hill. Curves there, yeses. Semicircle, and the time 40.05, so just missing out on breaking the 40-second mark, but by very, very little indeed. 40.05. Scott Moran, one of the most successful hill climbers currently competing then on the hill in the Gould, one of the most successful marks of cars in hill climbing. It is 108 miles an hour under the bridge, already around Pardon, and this looks like a good run for number 8, Scott Moran. Number 8 was 8th in the championship last year, which is one of his, in the last championship, one of his lower placings in recent years. He goes under the line with a 37.60 seconds for the Gould. There's another Gould on the line. This time it is Sean Gould in the Gould, car number 7, and away he goes. Exactly the same speed under the bridge, 107. A little bit of a twitch there before he comes into Ettores, but successfully around that hairpin on up the hill. Pardon, our picture freezes just momentarily, but we've got it back in the way he goes on. And this again looking like a very, very clean lap. 47.6, the time is better. This is still practice, of course. Quicker time, 36.87 then for Sean Gould, as Trevor Willis gets underway in the OMS, a 3.2 litre machine, which goes under the bridge rather slower, 97 miles an hour under the bridge. Going up a few cc to the previous car, the car of Sean Gould, but and he has stopped on the exit to Ettores. A problem for Trevor Willis, number 5, and I think, well, he's just pulling off the track a little bit further, but it's going to be a red flag and a little bit of a delay whilst we recover the car of Trevor Willis. Hopefully nothing too major wrong with the OMS, but his practice run has come to a premature conclusion, I'm afraid. Message from John Hicks saying, looking forward to seeing you all at Prescott tomorrow. Great bunch of marshals. They certainly are, John, and we look forward to seeing you here at Prescott tomorrow as well. Rob Lewis, meanwhile, is looking forward to his first ever event at a VSCC Prescott, when he's bringing out his 1928 Austin 12.4 special. That should be, we're seeing VSCC meetings, always great fun here at Prescott, and we look forward to seeing that Austin amongst the many other beautiful historic machines that will be here with the Vintage Sports Car Club. As Trevor Willis comes back down the hill the wrong way, once he's clear of the hill, then we'll be able to get the runs back underway. He pulls off into the paddock, hopefully to sort out what we wish will be a minor problem for him. And the hill is open once again. And firing up, coming up to the line. It is car number 3, David Ewan, again in a Gould, the GR55B, 3.5 litre engine powering this Gould. David, as the number dictates, was third, currently third in the championship standards after the last championship. Running on Pirelli tyres, he goes away. What speed can he achieve under the bridge? 108 miles an hour, so just 1 mile an hour faster than Scott Moran and Sean Gould were in their Goulds. He's around Bugatti, Torres, I'm sorry, and into Pardon. Again, looking like a very clean run. Over the line goes for 38.11, so just about half a second down on the quickest time so far. Number 2, Alex Summers in the DJ Firestorm, 106 miles an hour under the bridge for Alex, the runner-up in the previous championship. Really is remarkable the speeds these single-seaters achieve, these top single-seaters on this tight and very demanding course. 36.57 seconds for Alex Summers. Now, can that be bettered by reigning champion Wallace Menzies, number 1, again in a Gould, a GR59M, 3.3 litre machine, and Wallace just being lined up for his second practice run of the day. Is currently topping the standings in this year's championship, on course at the moment at least to retain his title. 102 miles an hour under the bridge. Again, just that couple of miles an hour off the faster speeds we've seen under the bridge, but very cleanly around the Torres, very quickly into Pardon and exits there. S's now. And halfway up to the line, and a 36.15 for Wallace Menzies, which I think I'm right in saying is the fastest time we've seen so far today. Meanwhile, we switch to the A Sports Racing machine. It's the Chevron B19 driven by Amanda George. Car number 220 heading up the hill at the moment. Chevron usually successful in sports racing car manufacturers over the years. Through the S's. Her time is a 48.96. We see the single-seater Tiger SF83, originally a sport Formula 4 2000 car, I think I'm right to say. Slicks and wings, of course, running a 1600cc engine now, though. It's Joe Mackerel, car number 930. a 48.57, and we wait for the next car to appear. So we're getting very close now to the timed runs for the Bugatti Owners Club Handicap series, but we've got just a couple more cars, I think, 2 driver cars to take their practice runs before we get those timed runs underway. I think, in fact, it may well be the Chevron and the Tiger that we saw, the last 2 cars we saw, going back up the hill again in the hands of their second drivers, but once they're back down from those previous rounds. So just waiting for those cars to return to the paddock, get very quickly refettled, swap drivers, and they will be back up the hill. Some very nice machinery participating in the BOC handicap. Looking forward to seeing these cars going up the hill before too much longer. Really from classic historic machinery right through to the latest cars. The way the Bugatti Owners Club handicap works is that each car has been allocated a handicap time for completing the hill ahead of the event, and it is the amount that they are above or below that handicap time that determines their position in the results. I think that message on screen should say short delay for the next car. Indeed it does, thank you very much. It wasn't an instruction to the event organiser to sort the delay, it was to say we've got just short delay before we see the next car going up the hill. Most of the time runs, as we've already said, will be tomorrow with effectively 2 events. Each car will take a timed run, and then there will be the top 12 runoffs as well. So we'll do that once, and then again, presumably after lunch, as this car number 920. It's Richard George now in the Chevron B19, the machine that was owned by one of the sport's great names. Joe Seifert owned this car in 1971, and it was driven as well by Gerard Larousse. So quite some pedigree to this Chevron B19. Richard George, we saw Amanda George going up the hill in it a few minutes ago. Now we see Richard George heading up in this 2-litre sports racing car. And away he goes, under the bridge at 57 miles an hour, so he comes on up to Torres. And looking fairly cautious there around the hairpin. around Pardon. And I suspect there might be an issue with the car, unfortunately. That's very, very slow up the hill now for Richard George. He is still continuing on his way though, so the other two driver cars are able to get off the line. There it is, Robin Johnson in the Super 4, the Tiger from 1983 with a 1600 engine, goes around to Torres. This was built for the category that was aimed at giving drivers their first experience of slicks and wings cars, because the normal Formula 4's of course no wings and road tyres, but Super 4 Formula 4 2000 with the nose cone and the wing on the rear and with racing slicks when weather dictated. And Robin Johnson goes over the line in 47.69. I suspect we will see the clerk of the course going up the hill in just a moment to check that all is ready for the timed runs. Yes, away goes the clerk of the course in his road-going Audi, and the red flags are out whilst he climbs, and then once he's given us the A-OK, we will have the first timed runs of the competitive runs of the day, and it will be for the contenders in the Bugatti Owners Club Handicap, starting with the racing cars. First car that we should see going up the hill shortly, car 240, is Dominic Hentel in the Lancia Aurelia engined single-seater special. As I mentioned a little while ago, they have a handicap to try and better, and the handicap time for Dominic is set at 56.91 seconds. You see the cars lining up in the paddock, ready to come out onto the hill and start their first timed run for the Bugatti Owners Club Handicap Series. 242 there, the lovely Brabham BT21 of Martin Jones. And there is the Lancia Aurelia 240 of Dominic Hentel. Always strikes me there's an awful lot of car behind him for a single-seater. You can see the Lancia engine there. And Dominic firing the car up. We have the all clear, the hill is open once again. We can get the time runs underway. Up to the line then. Glorious sounding supercharged, I think I'm right in saying supercharged machine of Dominic Hendel in the Lancia Aurelia single-seater. Car 240 on the line now, ready to get the time runs underway. And a very clean getaway there for Dominic. Goes under the bridge at 61 miles an hour and heads on up towards Torres. This hairpin that seems to go on pretty much forever. It's well over 180 degrees through there, and then they go back left a little bit on the run up to Pardon. Around there. To the S's, hanging the tail out a little bit, I think, there as he goes through there, running very wide and hanging the tail out certainly on the exit, and then on around Semi and on up to line. What time will we see? 56.17, so under his target handicap time. Meanwhile, Martin Jones in the Brabham BT21 is on the hill. Martin, whose target 46.29 his handicap time, so he'll have to get into the 45s to better Dominic's handicap position or result. Up to the line he goes, and it's a 48.38, so not quite able to do it. Meanwhile, we see Jeremy Rivers Fletcher in the Triumph Special. Jeremy's handicap set at 53.31. Jeremy, latest famous family of motorsport people. Rivers Fletcher, Jeremy's father, involved with the marketing and media operation within BRM. I think in the past he's done a 53.04, so he has bettered his handicap time, but I don't think it's quite enough to take the lead away from the Lancia Aurelia. Peter Thurston now goes over the line with a 45.78, so he's just outside his handicap time on the Malek Mark IV. On the line now, the first of the saloon cars, rather on the hill I should say, Jerry Packer in the Austin Mini, 1380cc this Mini, able to improve on 55 seconds. Immaculate looking machine, going through the S's there. It's a 60.84 for Jerry Packer. Meanwhile, a much more modern machine on the hill is Graham Ramsey, 252 in the 2-litre Seat Cupra. His handicap time set of 59.72, in fact, for the Cupra. Alfa Romeo 59.71 then for Graham Ramsey. Meanwhile, Terry Clifford in his Alfa Romeo GT Junior 2-litre machine goes around Pardon. Terry's time to beat 53.79. Semicircle up to the line, and it's a 54.92 then for Terry Clifford. Stopped on the hill at the exit of Ettore. An interesting machine actually. It's car number 256, Peter Knight's, in the Rover Mitsu Metro 6R4 replica. Basically it's been built as a replica, cosmetically at least, of the Metro 6R4 four-wheel drive Group B rally car, but it has a Mitsubishi 3000 GT engine, and I think I'm right in saying it's an Escort or Sierra Cosworth gearbox in it. So quite an interesting combination, but unfortunately not making it to the top of the hill on this occasion. So we've got a red flag. I'm sure he'll run back down the hill to the paddock, and then we'll be able to continue. Next up after him, it will be 257 Martin Saunders in his Escort Mark 1. This car built originally for forest rallying, but now used for hill climbing. As Peter Knight brings that Rover Mitsu Metro 6R4 back down to the paddock. So the RS 2000 Escort Mark 1 of Martin Saunders. Martin waiting patiently on the line for his first timed competitive run. So all set to go. The Escort has been fired back up. In comes the red flag on the start line, and we can get things back underway. So away goes Martin Saunders. Just shy of 60 miles an hour under the bridge. He comes into Torres then. Around there to Pardon. Up to midway into the S's. His handicap time to try and better, so 53.71. What time can he achieve as he comes round semicircle up to the line, and it is a 55.24. On the hill there we see the Honda Civic R of Stephen Davey, car 260. And, obviously once again a much more modern machine than the Escort that preceded it. Stephen's time that he's aiming for is a 50.90. He's done a 49.87, so bettering his handicap time. Tim Dennis, meanwhile, is in the 2.5 litre Subaru Impreza STI, car 261, with a time to go for of 54.37. Impreza is, of course, best known for their achievements in the World Rally Championship in the hands of the likes of McRae and Richard Burns, of course, and it's a 50.49, so just by a tenth of a second or so outside his handicap time. Meanwhile, Simon Cox is in the Austin Mini Ritz. The engine in this one bored out to 1380cc, car 262. Tom Mogirossi in the Renault Twingo 133 1600cc version of the Twingo, as Simon Cox records a 55.44 against his 53.57 handicap time. How can the Renault Twingo driver do? Tom Mogirossi, number 263, 56.83 the time set by the handicappers. 57.57 the time he achieves. The last of the saloon cars, I think, in this class. 951 is Andrew Packer in the Mini. Aiming to improve on a time of 55 seconds exactly that the handicappers have set him. For him it will be the sports cars in action as when he goes over the line in 56.66. Tim Jeffrey, the first then of the sports cars, the Renault Alpine GTA turbocharged 2.5 litre engine in this mid-engine car. Comes around Pardon. And up for the S's. He's looking to improve on 52.27 to set a benchmark for the sports car class. And 52.14, so he does so by just over a tenth of a second as the Triumph Stag is on the hill now. The car of Alistair Clark, the 3 litre V8 engine under the bonnet, car 253. In their day, developed a little bit of a reputation for unreliability with the engine, but these days turning very much into a cherished classic car, the Triumph Stag. People wondered why the British Leyland Group didn't just opt to use the engine, the Rover engine, that V8, Buick designed V8 that they had on there available to them, but opted for a different V8, this 3 litre engine that powers the Triumph Stag. So Alistair Clark then, number 3, and then we see number 270, Pete Fletcher in again, a V8 machine, but 4.6 litres under the bonnet of this Triumph TR7, 68.9 the time for Alistair Clark. Pete Fletcher's in the TR7 with the V8 engine. They only really built a very few V8 out of the factory, most of them 2 litre machines. And he records a 54.67 as we see Oliver Chilton in his 1800cc Mazda MX-5, car 274, going up out of Ettores now. It is the Lotus Elise S1 1800cc machine, 275, the car of Austin Weltman. Heading up through the S's. And we turn the clock back then because it's Frank Ashley, car 276 in the MG M-Type, just 847cc in this classic MG sports car. Ashley, well, we wait for him to cross the line, get his time, but John Cavendish is also on the, we'll see John in just a moment as we continue to watch the M-Type complete his run. There is John Cavendish in the MGB GTS, 2 litre MGB, 277. M-Type still completing its run. And there's an 82.98 seconds in the end for the M-Type as the MGB continues its way up. And there we see the lovely Allard J2, 4 litres of V8 power in that Allard, 279, Chris Pring driving that one, 57.18 meanwhile for John Cavendish. Mallard. Goes up into Pardon. Sports car manufacturers that Britain boasted back in the day, as it were. Sadly, many of them gone now. J2 does a 58.63, whilst Keith Wilson heads up the hill in his MG Midget Mark 1, 1380cc. Begun life as a 1275cc machine, of course. Later on, the Midget became 1500. But the Mark 1 1275cc. And there the Triumph TR4A of David Roberts, 3.5 litres under the bonnet of that one. As Keith Wilson records a 57.14, and David comes around Pardon in the TR4A. Ross Lammas in the Triumph Spitfire Mark 3 284 as David Roberts records a 58.67. Ross in that 1400cc engined Triumph Spitfire. Watch the Spitfire through the S's. Semicircle, he comes on up to the finish line, and the time for the Spitfire is 60.80 on the hill now. And there we see the Raw Striker motorcycle engined sports car of Terry Mould, 285. Raw built a number of these motorcycle powered machines, a number of different models as well over the years. The Striker perhaps the most successful. He comes up to the finish line now. His time will be 66.84. 970 is the glorious sounding TR7 V8 of Maxwell Brearley Jones. Number 970. Out of Victorious now, up to Pardon. Again, the TR7 best known for its rallying exploits in the hands of the likes of Tony Pond. Tony put one into a park bench at Longley, if I remember rightly. Or was that the Rover SD1? I'm not quite sure, to be honest. But there's a 50.13 for Maxwell Brearley Jones as David Slade heads his way up the hill in the MGB GT Sebring, the beautiful looking 2-litre MGB GT. Up to the line now, doing a 57.34, and we move on to the second runs, the second timed runs of the BOC handicap contenders, and it's Dominic Kendall in that Lancia Aurelia powered machine 240, who's on the hill at the moment. And by the looks of it too, just there, but okay. And he comes around semicircle now. What sort of time can he achieve? It is a 56 seconds exactly, which I think is a slight improvement on his first run time. Meanwhile, the 1600cc Brabham BT21 of Martin Jones, which I think is a Formula 2 specification car of its era. He's on the hill and through the S's. There's a semicircle around there. Martin Jones then up to the line with a 47.87. As we see Jeremy Rivers Fletcher in his Triumph Special, got 2:43. Very high seating position, very upright engine in front of him, of course. In this Triumph Special, it's got a little bit twitchy there as he came through semicircle, but he's over the line in a 53.28 seconds. And there the very early Mallet, forward in fact, the Mallet U2, so called because U2 can go motor racing with one of these. Raced in the Clubman's category of racing. 45.31 for Peter Thurston on his second run as we move on to the saloons. And Jerry Packer in that bored out 1380cc Austin Mini. He comes into Torres. 251 then. Pardon. Just very brief delay so that some sweeping can be done at Torres. Equalised conditions, as it were, for later competitors, so that they've got the same levels of grip and so on. As we watch the Mini come to the end of its run with a time of 60.56 seconds. So 60.56 for Jerry Packer. There you see the marshals working hard as ever to clear that gravel that's been kicked out onto the tarmac, and they just have to sweep that off very quickly before we can get things back underway. And next car sitting patiently on the line at the moment is 252 Graham Ramsey in the Seat Cupra. Still a little bit more sweeping to be done though. So we are ready to get things back underway with that Seat Cupra. So as it's moving forward quite a number of years from the Austin Mini of Jerry Packer, Graham Ramsey in this 2-litre Spanish machine. Seat, of course, part of the Volkswagen group these days, producing cars in Spain. And away goes the Seat Cupra off the line. Under the bridge it goes at 59 miles an hour, and something tells me that's exactly the speed he went under the bridge on the previous run. Around Torres. So on to Pardon. Very, very neat looking run this. And the understeer that you sometimes see with front wheel drive machines, of course. Under the bridge comes Terry Clifford in the Alfa Romeo GT Junior 2-litre machine. 255, slightly quicker under the bridge, 63 miles an hour against the 59 of the Seat Cupra. As Terry takes the Italian machine and Torres on up to Pardon. 57.20 then the time for Graham Ramsey. As that lovely looking Alfa continues its way up the hill. About to go over the line with a time of 54.32. Meanwhile, Martin Saunders got 2:57 in the Mark 1 Ford Escort RS2000 X Forest Rally car. Continues his run up the hill. Completing the run now, Martin Saunders in a time of 54.00 as the Honda Civic R 2-litre machine of Stephen Davey comes up the hill. Quite a variety of saloon cars in this Bugatti Owners Club Handicap Series. A variety of ages and models. The Civic R, again a 2-litre machine. Continuing on his run. Coming to the line in a time of 50.06. As we see another Japanese machine, this time the 4-wheel drive STI Impreza of Tim Dennis. 2.5 litre engine in the Subaru. Car number 261. Just slightly wide there through the last part of the S's, but holds it all together. Comes up to the line and his time 50.90 seconds. While Simon Cox in the Austin Mini Ritz his run. Again 1380cc and there we see Tom Mogurossi 263 in the Renault Twingo 133 1600cc car. As Simon Cox records a 55.13 second run. Nimble looking car, the Renault Twingo. As around Parton comes Andrew Packer and his Mini 9.1cc, 57.51 seconds for Tom Mogurossi. Sports cars. Packer records 8:57.03. We see Tim Jeffrey in that Alpine Renault GTA Turbo 2:41. Time of 51.70 then for Tim Jeffrey. Meanwhile, the Triumph Stag 253 of Alistair Clark makes his way around to Torres. Was on up towards Pardon. Very standard looking machine, the Stag, and not too much done by to the suspension by the looks of the body roll that he's getting through those corners. As the Triumph TR7 looks a lot less standard, the car of Pete Fletcher goes around. So he's 65.13 seconds for Alistair Clark in the Triumph Stag. TR7 much stiffer on its suspension. Let's go to the finish line. Time of 53.44 then for the TR7 with Pete Fletcher. And the car that continued a tradition of sports cars that we established, I think it's fair to say, in the UK, and the Japanese picked up with the Mazda MX-5. This one an 1800cc machine, 274, the car of Oliver Chilton. 60.82 seconds for Oliver Chilton in the MX-5. And then we see the Lotus Elise S1 of Austin Weltman, car 275, the 1800cc car built at Hethel in Norfolk. Comes up the line to go time 56.51 seconds. Whilst on the hill now is the MG M-Type, 850cc, 847 to be precise. The cc of the M-Type, driven by Frank Ashley, car number 276. M-Type, Frank Ashley at the wheel. He'll be followed by another MG, in fact, and there it is, the GTS MGB, rather later machine of John Cavendish, car 277. Going up the hill now. 80.26 seconds for Frank Ashley in the M-Type. Meanwhile, we see the Allard J2, car number 279 of Chris Pring. Going up the hill as John Cavendish, records a 56.25 in the MGB. Yes, Chris Pring powering that V8 engine Allard up the hill. Keith Wilson, meanwhile, is in the Mark 1 MG Midget. 1380cc machine. He goes around Pardon now. .54 for the Allard of Chris Pring. So we continue to watch Keith Wilson in the Midget. And they're the TR4A of David Roberts, with the Triumph fitted with a later V8 3.5 litre engine, car 282. 55.65 is the time for the MG Midget Keith Wilson, and registering 55.65. So David Roberts continues up in the TR4A, as I say, V8 powered. I think we have a stoppage on the hill somewhere. So, problem for one of the cars on the hill means that the red flags are out.
Fuel. I think it's fuel. I can hear the pump.
Right. Can you roll back?
I can roll back.
He's run out of fuel.
Okay.
He's rolling back. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like it's some sort of mechanical problem, which means that the car is heading back down the hill, and this lull, I think it's probably an opportune moment for me to hand back once again to Chris.
We'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our live stream partner for today's British Hillclimb Championship and Cup meeting, Footman James. BHC Cup main sponsors Footman James have been at the heart of the classic vehicle movement for over 35 years and provide specialist classic vehicle insurance to cover owners, collectors, restorers and traders. Their classic car and classic bike insurance policies come with show and events cover as standard. Plus, you can tailor your policy to suit your needs with their flexible FJ Plus options. These options have everything from agreed value to track day cover. And to find out more, please visit www.footmanjames.co.uk. Right, we've got a bit of a pause. The Spitfire has had a failure on the hill. I won't tell you why, because the driver might be slightly embarrassed. And we've got one more car to run, and I think that will be the end of our competition runs for the cars in the Bugatti Owners Club Handicap. And then we've got as many cars and drivers as want to have a third practice run before the end of the day. Alison, greetings from southwest France. Great to see Tim Jeffrey in the Alpine GT8. Yeah, it's a lovely car, isn't it? We knew him in the UK. He had an Alpine A610 in those days. Both nice cars. Nice to be in southwest France. As long as you can get back. Joyce Breo. Hi everyone from Guernsey. Joyce and Gord Breo enjoying live coverage. Yeah, isn't it good to be back in action again? And at least we got some spectators. We're not up to the number we ought to have, but we're getting there. Terry Mould staggered off the line in the Raw Striker, which is a good name. It's a kit car. Silver Strikers, all sorts of different Striker models, some front engine, some rear engine. You buy the kit and assemble it, get an engine from somewhere. And this one I haven't seen before, so maybe Terry's launching himself into hill climbing. We have got more cars coming actually, I'm glad to say. So more volunteers to have more people competing there in the Bugatti Owners Club Handicap. Here's the Raw Striker striking its way into the S's. He will finish soon. Meanwhile, Max Briley-Jones in the V8 TR7 has taken off, and Terry Mould finishes with a 67.27. I think 5 seconds of that were staggering off the line. Here's the TR7. Americans called it a TR8, and the V8 TR7's had quite a successful rally career in the hands of people like Tony Pond, but it was pretty short-lived. Rover V8 engine, of course, as standard. 3.5 litres, this one bored out to 4.3 litres. So plenty of grunt and all the right noises. Finishes with a 49.56. Here's the MGB GT, reminiscent of the Sebring model, in the hands of David Slade. BMC competed in the Sebring 9 hours and the 3 hours with Sprites and MGBs. Rounding the semicircle, will he be under 55? No, it'll be a 56.35. On the line, this fabulous Aston Martin, built on a ProDrive chassis and built specifically for hill climbing, taking as much weight out of the car as possible. And I think it's in its second year of hill climbing. V8 engine, of course. And left-hand drive. I think all the ProDrive developed Astons for long-distance racing were left-hand drive. But this is very much lighter than the GT4 classification of Aston Martin Vantage. Aston Martin now, of course, under the leadership of Lawrence Stroll, who has lots of quite revolutionary ideas, but I'm waiting for my copy of the magazine that describes the new Valhalla. We had the amazing Valkyrie at Goodwood Festival of Speed a couple of weeks ago, making the most incredible noise. It's a fabulous car, and it'll be hitting the market, I think, in the autumn this year. So a great future for Aston Martin, and the Valhalla coming out, which will be the final internal combustion engine Aston Martin in production before they go all electric. So Andy Fraser in the Aston Martin finishes with a 49.37. He's followed by Peter Turnbull in this Porsche 997 Cup with its flat six 3.6 litre engine right at the back. And these Cup Porsches were just about the fiercest model you could get that was road legal. So Peter under the 50-second mark with the 48.8. He's followed by Bruce Bosley in a 1600 Caterham Super Sport. Little Caterhams and Westfield is just about as much fun as you could possibly get on the road without spending a fortune. On the way from Ettores into the S's. Big race series for these, of course, and they all sport this fourth bridge of a rollover cage, quite rightly, for added safety. Bruce is heading towards the finish, followed by Peter Lethbridge in his 1700cc version of the Caterham 7. 55.42 for Bruce. Pete Lethbridge already at the S's. He's followed by Tim Higgins in a Westfield with a 2-litre Vauxhall engine. We'll see that in just a second. Just following Peter Lethbridge in the Caterham 7. He'll be finishing soon. Meanwhile, here comes the Westfield. A lot of a certain amount of legislation took place when Westfield first came out with these cars because they resembled the Caterham fairly closely, and I think Westfield had to make some modifications to separate them enough. But they've both been great success stories. Caterham still building Caterham sports cars, thinking about how to go electric over the next few years. Don't often see a Fiat X19 either on the roads anymore or even fewer on the hills. Neat little mid-engined Fiat sports car with a fixed, most of them had a fixed head. You can't have a removable Targa top, and a great many of them of course succumbed to the dreaded tin worm and rusted away, but this is a good survivor, and it's nice to see the few remaining ones. Occasionally you see one and they're all in lovely condition, being well protected. So this is Martin Rutter, who finishes with a 56.38. He's followed by a car I think we've seen once or twice before. It's Andrew Russell in the venerable and very famous and very rapid Ginetta G15 that Andrew has campaigned on the hills, crikey, for 25 years or so, maybe more. Little Ginetta with a Hillman imp engine right out the back. The imp engine, of course, developed from the Coventry Climax design, all aluminium, lightweight engine. And Ginetta were very successful with the G15, amongst other of their models. Andrew finishes with a 51.91. Here's the Vauxhall Nova of Phil Tucker. It's a great way to start hill climbing in a little hot hatch, either a Nova or a Peugeot 106 GTI or the little Renault Sports Clios. 49.25 is a good time for the little Vauxhall Nova. Then we've got Richard Jones in the 3-litre Porsche. Early-ish, L-Reg, but in the days when Porsches didn't get terribly wide, and the original iconic 911 shape. Nice to see. Hard to believe that the 911 has been around for, gosh, 60 years or so. 1963 the first one came out, I think. Still going strong in its various guises. Eric Moray in a 1 litre Hillman Imp seemed to stagger a little bit coming out of Ettores, but now going fine. Imp, sadly, it was a very interesting design, but sadly crippled by politics. Roots Group forced to assemble them up in Scotland from components made in the Midland, so endless train journeys. 50.82 for Eric Moray in his 1 litre Imp. Swing axle front suspension, deliberately designed for understeer. Here's Gavin Neat in, I was mentioning the Peugeot 106 just now. Ooh, slightly testing the track limits out of S's, but no harm done, a bit of dust, but a good time coming up, 48.08. Now then, Jeff Twemlow in this very quick Subaru Impreza. I'm not sure if this is Jeff's full-out racing one. I know that he's been hill climbing Imprezas for a long time, up from Cornwall, Jeff does. It seems to have rather bouncy suspension. I'm not sure if it's deliberate. Maybe the dampers need tweaking a little bit. Let's see, this is the 2.5 litre flat 4 engine in the Impreza, so it's a more modern one than the one Jeff has hill climbed in the past. He's going to finish in a second. He's followed by Steve Moore in a very fierce Mitsubishi Evo. Jeff's time 53.77. Evos can be developed to produce something like 700 horsepower. Not sure how many horses sitting under the bonnet of Stephen Moore's edition, but it's quick enough to record a 45.75. Here's the lovely Aston Martin again, this time in the hands of Tim Painter. Manual gearbox, I think. I don't think it's a paddle shift. I'll check on that for tomorrow. It's quite a big car to thread up Prescott. But in many ways here, left-hand drive is an advantage because some of the critical corners are round to the left. Tim Painter finishes with the 47.78. On the line, David Garnett. Another hot hatch, Renault Clio. Perhaps the most popular of the hot hatches among the road testers. This one with the 2 litre engine. I see the ambulance moving, but I don't think there's a red flag, so I think David Garnett will be on his way pretty soon. He is indeed. He crept a little bit before really taking off, and that'll have cost him, I would think, about 4/10 off the line. One of the tricks of hill climbing is not to let the car creep before you really make a proper racing start. The other trick at Prescott is to realize that the apex of this bend we're looking at, Ettores, is 2/3 of the way around the bend, and it's very easy to make a too early exit, which makes you all wrong for the downhill sweep out of Ettores towards Pardon. But David going fine now. 2 litre Renault Clio, inch perfect out of the S's. Not sure that. Oh, wait a minute. Oh no, we've got David Wilson in the Peugeot 205. 54.09 for David Garnett in the Clio. To eagle-eyed amongst you will see on the back side of this car that it's a 1.6. It isn't. It's a 1.9, of course. The 205 GTI. And one of the favourite hot hatches, of course, the lovely 205 Peugeot. If you've got a nice one, keep it because the value is shooting up all the time. Into Ettores comes Robin Holden in the hardtop Mazda MX-5 Roadster. We've said so much about the MX-5 over the years, the best-selling sports car of all time. Really inspired by the Lotus Elan and brilliantly made by Mazda, ultra reliable, and everybody who drives an MX-5 raves over what fun it is to drive. So Robin heads for the finish. He's followed by Philip James. Porsche Cayman records a 52.44. Where's the Cayman? Here it is in the S's. 3.4 litre flat 6 engine, mid-engine. So access not easy, not like the 911 which has it stuck right out of the back. But for many people the Cayman is the prettiest of the current range of Porsches. Philip records a 53.63, followed by Simon Curtin in this Exige, the quickest version of the Lotus Elise. This one I think still with the K-Series Rover engine, before the Elise and the Exige got fitted with Toyota engines. And it's sad in a way that Elise production is coming to an end, but when you look at what's replacing them, the Emira, just the most beautiful car, and in a different market from the Elise. The Exige 50.19 in the hands of Simon Curtin. Here's another 205. 1900, actually the engine bored out to 2 litres of James Kerr. 69 miles an hour up to the bridge for a 205 GTI is good. They were quick. You also had to be pretty careful on a wet road. A lot of them went through the hedge backwards. 50.26, good time for James Kerr. Here's another Clio 197 this time, but again with the 2 litre engine in the hands of Dave Warner. Nice to see the Alpine F1 team clawing their way up the middle of the grid in F1. We'll see them in the Hungaroring soon. 52.25 for Dave Warner. Ross McDonald in another early-ish Porsche, the classic 3.3 litre Carrera. Little whale tail at the back. First appeared, that little whale tail appeared in the 2.7 litre Carrera. It's an iconic Porsche, 50.27 for Ross McDonald. Another one, much more modern, 997-2, the GT3, in the hands of Richard York with his 3.8 litre engine, water-cooled now. I think the 997, am I right in thinking the 997 was the first flat 6 Porsche engine with water-cooled heads? Might be wrong, often am. But they got progressively bigger engines, more and more powerful, but still quite usable as an everyday car, not temperamental at all. 54.25. Honda S2000 with its high revving 2 litre 4-cylinder engine. Redline I think at 8,500 revs. Doesn't pull all that quickly from low revs, but once you get it wound up and the variable valve system takes over, then it really flies. 49.06. You'll be pleased with the time under the 50s. Followed by the VX220 Turbo Vauxhall. General Motors insisted on Lotus produce a car for the Vauxhall range, and this is it, the 220. The original ones didn't sell terribly well, but once they fitted a turbocharger and got some real performance out of it, they sold pretty well, and they were quick also. Based on the Elise platform, but slightly longer wheelbase, slightly wider track, and the 2 litre Vauxhall engine rather than the Rover K series. Simon Tarling in another GT3 Porsche 3.6 litre flat 6. Great car to drive to the meeting, compete, drive home again. So we're in the middle of a little platoon of Porsches. Simon Tarling finishes with a 50.85. Robert Lancaster Gay says he's getting used to the GT3. He's campaigned it for a year or two. Highly experienced hill climber. And Robert nearing the finish in his 997. It'll be well under the 50-second mark. It is indeed with a 48.54. Peter Herbert in a much earlier 911, but with the engine out to 3.6 litres. This car we've seen on the hills for many years. Peter always drives it with great enthusiasm. No dramas around S's. Lovely engine note. You always know it's a 911 coming past. Unique. 51.55 for Peter. Rodney Isles in this, I think, lovely Alfa Romeo 4C. Carbon fibre, body and tub. Bigger and more expensive than the Lotus Evora. And Alfa Romeo made a terrible mistake when they launched this car. The front suspension geometry wasn't right, and it got heavily criticised in all the road tests, which must have costed a lot of sales. And it was a very simple tweak to just adjust the geometry to make the handling fine. Sometimes you don't understand Alfa Romeo, and I speak as a great Alfa fan. Ian Richards, Renault Clio, slightly earlier one with the 182. On his way to semicircle, he's followed by Rob Wilson. Here he is in the shared Peugeot 205. 53.33 for the Clio in the hands of Ian Richards. Robert Wilson using every inch available and on his way up to the S's. Another MX-5 on the hill, but we'll just, here it is. This is John Maycock, another shared car. We've seen this in just now. Meanwhile, how's John Maycock doing? He's in the S's. And rounds semicircle. Will it be under the 50-second mark? Might just, no, not quite, 51.01. Here's an interesting car. This is Mike Puddle in an RM Lakota S1, and don't ask me for details of it because I've never seen it before, but looks really interesting. Little rear-engine or mid-engine kit car, light as a feather, plenty of grunt from its, I think, Hayabusa engine. Not even sure if it's road legal. Don't think it is, but lots of fun for a not desperately expensive hill climb car. So Mark, again, will he be under the 50-second mark? Not quite, it'll be a 51.48. What can Simon Jenks do in his Caterham Super Sport? Highly experienced, very quick, rapidly round pardon. Gets the line just right. This will be a quick run, I think. This might well be, well, will it be mid-40s? But for a Caterham, it's really quick. Beautifully driven. Yes, good time. 43.12, that's great. Now Ash Mason. Ash, ex-Bentley engineer, brilliant engineer. Be developing this Westfield with its Hayabusa engine going quicker and quicker. This could well be in the low 40s again. Let's see. It is. It's a 42.13. Excellent. Here's the Silver Riot, the 1 litre bike engine, rear engine, another of the silver kit cars in the hands of Martin Watts. Sadly, Andrew Griffiths has... Is he getting a rerun? I hope so. He came to a halt to 5 yards in front of the line. The normal rule is that if you Yeah, if your rear wheels cross the line, that is a failed run. And I have a feeling Andrew Griffiths is going to be wheeled away from the start line, which is a shame for him to miss out on another run. Whether it was a transmission failure or just a stalled motor, I don't know. So the rule is, if you stall at the start and your back wheels don't cross the line, that's okay. You can have another go. Damien Bradley. Damien, where are you? Meant to be here today. Weather looks to be holding out, which is great. Fingers crossed for more of the same tomorrow, as I'll be with you all competing in the Legacy with only 800 or so horsepower. Damien, we look forward to seeing you and that car tomorrow. In the meantime, we've got Steve Garner on the line. Vauxhall powered, I think. Westfield rockets off the line. A brilliant start, 2.4 seconds. 80 or so miles an hour under the bridge, 82, yes. It's a very daunting corner, Orchard Corner. And then Steve gets the apex correct for Ettores. Lots of people don't. It's one of the bees I have in my bonnet. Too many. So Steve Garner, let's see, will that be mid-40s? I think it could well be. He's in the S's now. Yeah. 40s, 45 maybe. Better than that, 44.38. Excellent run by Steve Garner. Here's Phil Cook. Super light Caterham with a 1585. I think it's a bike engine, I'm not sure. It's quick anyway. 18 miles an hour under bridge. Philip Cook. This will be pretty quick. This will be low 40s again. 44.37. Followed by Phil Goff in the Caterham with the Hayabusa. Very interesting transmission in these Caterhams with the Hayabusa because the engine is fore and aft, and then there's a takeoff from the motorcycle gearbox, and then a shaft, of course, back to the differential at the back. But interesting engineering conundrum to get right. Now what can Phil do? 48-ish, 48.26. Richard Price in another bike engined Caterham. Late braking into Pardon. This will be quite a quick run, I think. Straightens up the S's as much as possible, doesn't use all the road coming out. Again, we're looking at the low 40s, 43, 44, 43.56 for Richard Price. Ray Law on his way, on the hill. Here he is. Not a bike engine. 2-litre Vauxhall again, I think. Followed by a really interesting car. We'll see it in a few seconds in the hands of Alan McDonald, but here it is. This is the so-called Morris Mini Evo 2.4. I think the only Mini part is door hinges that actually are the boot hinges of a Mini. It's a space frame with a Mitsubishi Evo engine, and it's quick, and it weighs less than a feather, and it smokes a bit. But Alan had to rebuild some of this car. It had a slight sideways shunt in a previous meeting. You wouldn't call it immaculate, but you would call it quick, as you can see by the time of 44.71 for Alan. So we're just backing the Caterham that had the failed run back into the paddock, And I don't think we've got any more cars in the queue to come up. So possibly, if Rich is ready, we might have an interview that we recorded earlier in the afternoon while we're waiting for the next cars to come on the hill. I'm sure he's got something entertaining to occupy us. Rich Danby does a fantastic job setting up this live stream. We have got a car coming, so we won't need any interval video clips. So this is Robert Capper, and I'm assuming this is cars to compete tomorrow in the Midlands Hillclimb Championship and the British Hillclimb Championship. And on the line is Robert Capper in the little 600cc Jedi. There used to be, I'm not sure if there still is a race series for these. Jedi made a lot of them, and they have used to, maybe still do, have a terrific battle around the circuits. Neat, nimble little cars. I think many of them with a Honda 600cc bike engine. Here's Robert in the SEs. He's followed by Chris Howard-Harris in the OMS version of the 600cc racing car. Here he is at Torres. Time for Robert Capper, 47.64. And Chris Howard-Harris heads into the Essex. Now then, this will be in the 45s, I suspect, the OMS Hornet 45.85. Robert Penrose in another OMS with a 1 litre bike engine. And he's followed by Adam Greenan, always quick. The Greenan brothers, both of them very quick in this Empire Evo with the 1100cc engine. Let's see, 97 miles an hour through the speed trap at Bridge is quick. He's in the unblown racing cars up to 1100cc class, so he's getting a third practice run. They will get another one tomorrow first thing. And then got competition in both the Midland Hillclimb Championship and the British Hillclimb Championship. So a big day coming tomorrow at Prescott. Adam, 39.23, great time, excellent. Here's the father of the Summers family, Richard, and the DJ Firehawk, father of Alex. Highly experienced hill climbing family. Richard occasionally forces his way into the DJ Firestorm, but this weekend it's Lindsay, his wife, having a go before Alex hops into it. Richard finishes with a 41.12, and he's followed by Mark Lawrence in this OMS. I think he's sharing with Harry Pick. They're both quick. I might be wrong, but I think OMS 3000M means it's a monocoque, not a space frame, but Steve Owen will no doubt put me right. Mark finishes with a 41.31. Steve Marr in the PCD Saxon, precursor to the Predators and Raptors. ultra lightweight, ultra narrow. You need to be pretty slim to get into it. Early 40s, 40.13, excellent time, really good. Empire, in the hands of James Moore. It's called an Empire 00, I think it's the precursor to the Evo. Again, we're in Class I, racing cars 600 up to 1100, and James 42.47. We got a bit of a spinner at Torres. It's Mark Schlanker, no harm done, and avoided the kitty litter, so I think Mark will probably be encouraged to coast the car back to the paddock, possibly being requested to stay on the grass so as not to bring any kitty litter onto the track. But if you're not spinning, you're not trying, said Gilles Villeneuve. There's only one way to find the limit, and Mark has found it. Often if you leave your braking too late going into a Torres and you go into it with on a trailing brake, the car doesn't like it and snaps sideways. He'll either be encouraged to drive carefully up to the top of the hill or to coast back down. We'll see in a second. Reminds me that there was a time when we had the crossover course at Prescott. You can see the sweep round Orchard, and instead of coming the full way round and up to Torres, there was a crossover, which meant that you took Torres the other way round as a left-hand bend rather than a right-hand hairpin. It didn't last very long because the cambers were all wrong, and it wasn't fun at all. But it was a good experiment to try for a year or two. That was, I think, crikey, that was in the late 80s that we used to do that. So Mark is touring gently up to the top of the hill. Red flags will come in right now, as you can see. And we've got a nice Caterham on the line, and I'll tell you who it is very shortly. It's Tom Price. Interesting engine size, 1440, means it's a bike engine. And it's quick, 82 round bridge, round Orchard under the bridge, and a nice late apex. There you are, at Torres. There's a driving school here at Prescott, half a dozen times a year, and it's a great way of, if you want to start hill climbing or to improve your skills, great fun, and highly experienced tutors. Details are on the website. Tom Price finishes with a good time, 42.39. Joy Hoyle, who's competed in various Caterhams over the years. Joy finishes with a 52.29, to be followed by Keith Weeks in the little image. Image FF5. Competing in the 1 litre class, and records a 44.65. Here's David Tatham, always quick in the 1100cc OMS Hornet. Again, gets it Torres right and rushes down and up into Parden. Lots of arguments about the best route round Parden. Some people sweep round the outside, some people hug it very close into the left. David Tatham is a hugger. Brings us into our Formula Ford class. We'll soon see Dickie Cottrell, but in the meantime, very good time for David Tatham, 40.9, excellent for a 1 litre Hornet. Here's Dickie Cottrell in the Lotus 61, built in a period when Colin Chapman thought a wedgie-shaped body was the way to get downforce without resorting to winning wings and fins. So Formula Ford, Lotus 61. Nice that we've got 5 Formula Ford cars competing this weekend. Not sure that they will all be taking a third practice run. In the meantime, we've got Jeremy Jones in the Swift Formula Ford and Nicky recording a 51.27. So it'll be a nice competitive little class of 5 Formula Fords. Can Jeremy get under the 50-second mark? I don't think he will. Here he comes round semicircle. No, it'll be a 54. No, it's not. It's a 52.71. Richard Walker sharing the Mark IV Jedi in the 600 class. Pretty gold Jedi Mark IV. He heads for the semicircle. He's followed by Bob Penrose. 2.41 off the start. Richard was quick going round Orchard at 79. In the meantime, here's Bob Penrose. 1 litre OMS. Followed by Andrew Green, and we saw Adam a few minutes ago in this amazing Empire Evo 2. Watch him closely, keep an eye on Bob Penrose's time. He's nearly there, 46.76. Let's focus on Andrew Greenan. It's a big fraternal battle, both of them very quick. It'd be good if both of them qualify for the runoff tomorrow. Now, will this be in the 30s? It could just be, I think. It is. It's a great run, 39.09 for Andrew. Here's Debbie Dunbar in the DJ Firehawk. We saw future father-in-law Richard Summers just now in this car. Will she be tactless enough to beat him? I think she will, because Richard was taking it very easily on his last run. Debbie, 40.28, excellent time. What can Harry Pick do in the 1 litre OMS? This is a rapid car. We saw it in Mark Lawrence's hands just now. Not sure if it's the only OMS with an air intake in front of the nose cone. Now this will be under the 40-second marker as well, 39.68. Excellent time by Harry. Here's Les Buck in the Prigat Mistral. We've seen this so many times. I think it's unique now, although there were, I think, 13 or 14 of them originally built. Les Buck and the Prigat has already been said, but I think both the car and the driver know their own way up. Prescott to record a 51.5. 1902. Another family battle. This is Richard Weaver, father and son. Dad Richard, son Tom, having a really good season in the Midlands Hillclimb Championship. In this early-ish Van Diemen, and records a 50.78. Meanwhile, Amanda George, this is a father and daughter battle in the glorious ex-Eggenberger Joe Sifford driven Chevron B19 with its unique Cotswold engine. I asked her dad Richard, is it an FVA or an FVC? He says it's neither, it's an FVD, which is an FVC bored out to 2 litres. I think Joe Sifford had a number of them. This is the only one left. Amanda finishes with the 48.67. Liam Cooper showing with Olivia in the Force TA. It's nice that hill climbing has so many family battles. Oof, Liam again slightly oversteer. He got getting on the power out of bottom S, but no harm done. Don't think it cost him any time. 42.13, respectable time. Alan Warburton, 100 miles an hour through the bridge and speed trap in this GR59 Gould with its 1600cc longitudinal Hayabusa engine, shaft drive, very complex geometry to get all the angles right, but it certainly works to the extent that son David is currently lying 10th in the Hillclimb Championship and records the 40 seconds exactly for Alan. Good sighter for tomorrow. John Chalmers in the Ralt 2001 Ralt Formula 3. Sad story about Ralt trying to stay established in Formula 3 but really facing too much financial competition from Talara. They made 3 cars and then had to back out. But to the advantage of John Chalmers, who's had this car for some time, had different motors in it. Now it's got a special Suzuki engine. Again, 4.5 ton. And John, son-in-law of the great Roy Lane, 41.94. Einon Price kind of rocketed off the line and then it failed on him. So sadly for Einon, that'll be a failed run. He's trying to start it. If he can get it running without a marshal touching him, he could finish his run, but I don't think he will. What a shame. Gives me a chance, a little break to wish you a fond farewell, and I'll talk to you tomorrow, but in the meantime I'll hand back over to Peter Hughes. We'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our live stream partner for today's British Hill Climb Championship and Cup meeting, Footman James. BHC Cup main sponsors Footman James have been at the heart of the classic vehicle movement for over 35 years and provide specialist classic vehicle insurance to cover owners, collectors, restorers and traders. Their classic car and classic bike insurance policies come with show and events cover as standard. Plus, you can tailor your policy to suit your needs with their flexible FJ Plus options. These options have everything from agreed value to track day cover. And to find out more, please visit www.footmanjames.co.uk.
Well, thanks very much, Chris, for that. And as Chris said, he'll be back with us again tomorrow when the bulk of the competitive action happens. But in the meantime, we continue with this third practice run. And on the line now, as you can see, it's Force TA number 184 of Kelvin Broad, the 1300cc single-seater. 97 miles an hour under the bridge for this 1300cc machine. Pretty impressive speed for a small engined single-seater. Very cleanly around Torries to Pardon and on up the hill. Team heads. And as he goes over the line, it's a 39.98 for Kevin Board, to a sub 40-second run, just about, for the Force TA. And on the line is one of the Ghouls, the GR59, again 1300cc, the machine of Paul Hames, the 186 car. So Paul, 107 miles an hour under the bridge. This looks like a very good run indeed so far. He comes out of Pardon into the S's now. Over the line for 38.79 as Pete Hatham gets off the line his OMS 25. His speed to the bridge. Tatham completes his run then, 39.11, so we're well into the sub-40s now with this group of single-seaters as David Gumley, the 1600 Force TA, goes around Torries on to Pardon. Semicircle over the line and a 39.84 as 862 Charles Hall gets away. Charles in the Empire Wraith, another of the 1600cc, which would run in the 1100 to 1600 class machine. There on the exit through the S's, but safely on his way. A little bit of a throttly bit through the semicircle as well, as we see Jason Tunnicliffe in the Empire Evo 2, but a 38.13 the time there. As we focus now on Jason in that 99 miles an hour under the bridge. Quite able to make the three figures, but can't get a lot closer as the Van Diemen on the Ford car of Tom Weaver goes around the Torries, and 38.63 for Jason Tunnicliffe his time. Tom Weaver comes around Pardon. These Formula Ford cars on road tyres, very little in the way of aerodynamic aids on them, but they can still climb this hill pretty quickly. What can Tom Weaver do? He's coming up to the line now, and he records a 50.15. As on the line is the Chevron B19. This is time in the hands of Richard George. Away he goes. This Joe Siffert owned Jared Lewis driven machine. Complete sports car racing car. very, very popular at the era when the B19 was current. And a lot of the top drivers would participate in those races. Time can Richard George do that? Comes through up to the line. It's a 49.49, and it's a little bit quiet for a moment or two in the paddock, but we can see another car coming down to the line for its third practice run. Just a little bit of fettling of tyres being done by the I think that's probably by the co-driver of this car. It's a shared car, I believe. Up to the line it comes then, car number 860, Olivia Cooper in the Force TA 1600cc machine. Just being lined up very carefully by our hard-working start line marshals. And Olivia gets away. miles an hour under the bridge for the Force TA. Around the Tories it goes. Pardon, on the hill we had run this one for the 1600cc machine. We have now towards the finish line, and the time 40.88 as off the line goes car number 10, David Warburton in the Gould GR59 1600cc machine. David, who currently lies in 10th place, I think, in the 2021 championship. Said a number of times already, someone who was hugely successful in hill climbing in recent years. And through for a time of 38.21 goes David Warburton as Trisha Davis comes up to Tories in the Reynard ex-Formula 3 machine, 913. Then to the S's. Trisha Davis. Time car in the Formula 3 machine clock of 43.05 then for car 170. And on the hill Nicola Dearden, but we see Jonathan Evans 172 in the Swallow DR14 car. A bit cautious pops around Ettores there. 49.99 then for Nicola Dearden and the Dallara, which is just completed its climb. Jonathan Evans though about halfway through his climb. There in the Formula 3 Dallara from 1999. Partner hangs the tail out a little bit of a twitch there on the exit, the hairpin. 47.71 for the previous car. Joshua Moss coming towards the end of his run in the Dallara. 41.45, and we see another Dallara F399, this time in the hands of Tim Elmer. Car 174, he heads up towards Pardon. Tim Elmer. Next car that we see is Michael Tricone, 175 in the Pilbeam MP88. Chris mentioned a little earlier, Mike Pilbeam, his cars, these Pilbeams, hugely successful when they took in the 80s. Wait for Michael Tricone to cross the line, he does a 44.04. Sitting on the line there is Zachary Zamet in the Empire Wraith, the 1600cc machine, car number 162. Zachary on the bridge at 92 miles an hour into Torres. He's going in there a little bit enthusiastically, but he managed that very well indeed around Pardon there. Pushing on now to this Empire Wraith. What sort of time can he record? Can he get under the 40-second mark? Yes, he can. 38.26 seconds then for 162 Zachary Zamet as underway gets Jonathan Varley 176 in the GWR Predator. This is a 2-litre machine, 106 miles an hour under the bridge. Through Vittori's successfully into Pardon. Up the hill he pushes then in this 2-litre car. Struggled to top the 40 seconds, but he doesn't right at all. He does a 38.58 then for Jonathan Varley. On the line, 178 is Andrew Colbot in the Van Diemen RFO2 FX, again 2-litre machine. A few tweaks and additions by the looks of it from when it was running on the circuit. Colburn does a 43.79 as away goes Richard Alexander in the Force PC, a 1300cc machine this time for Richard, car 180. So he manages to wind it up to 96 miles an hour going under the bridge. And a 41.20 for Richard Alexander. Flying start for Simon Moyes in his Gould GR59 with just a 1300cc machine, but getting up to 108 miles an hour under the bridge with car 182. Simon looks like he's on a strong third practice run here. This surely will be a sub 40. 39.34 seconds then for Simon Moyes in the Gould GR59 182. 191 is Lee Griffiths in the OMS 28 1660 cc's. Wide on the exit there of that left-hander, but certainly through there, around semicircle, up to the line, and the time 38.90 for Lee Griffiths, as we see number 4, Richard Spedding, getting away in the GWR Raptor 2 1340cc. Richard currently down in 15th place in the British Hillclimb Championship standings, finished 4th last year, as denoted by his number, of course. 7 miles an hour under the bridge, and oh, bit of a twitch there, out of pardon, gets it all together, carries on up the hill. Through the semicircle there for the GWR Raptor 2, over the line with a 38.26 second run for Richard Spedding. 190 is Ian Tucker in the OMS 1690cc machine. He comes around the park. Still more cars heading down to the hill for their third practice run. Through the S's and on up the hill he goes. Ian Tucker then, car 190 to the finish line for a time of 47.07 seconds. Wait for the next single seater to make its way out onto the hill. Here it comes now. Tyre warming to be done before he gets to the line. It is car 870. Terry Davis then in the Formula 3 Reynard, the Reynard 913 2-litre engine. But this, I think, 2-litre V8, not the 2-litre engine that it would have sported when it's Formula 3 racing days. Working to get lined up. Interesting to note just how many of the drivers line the car up so that it's heading slightly to the right of the start line rather than square on the line. And Terry, one of those who goes under the bridge at 89 miles an hour. So, through the S's and goes Reynard. He stopped the clock under 40 seconds. No, he can't. It's a 40.79 for Terry Davis as Andrew Henson gets his Delara F394 off the line. Car 871, this Formula 3 car from 1994 originally. Italian make have enjoyed huge success in single-seater racing in F3 and various other categories as well. He comes around semicircle and notches up 41.45 seconds. It's Kevin Creven who's on the hill now in the Swallow DR14. There he is, 872, Kevin Creven. Around Torres. Pardon. And into the S's. We switch to Terry Graves, number 204 in the Gould GR 37 3.5 litre machine. It's 45.31 seconds the time recorded for Kevin Creven. Terry Graves continues on his way around the park and under the bridge at 93 miles an hour in the Gould. Semicircle up to the line, and the time for Terry Graves 41.73. Another Gould goes off the line, this one 2.5 litres, the GR55 902 of Mark Coley. he heads around Torres. A little bit wide there, but on the first part of the hairpin. Hard he goes. Yes, and to Mark Coley. Using break the 40-second barrier to 40.87 for Mark. As Lynn Owen sits on the line in the OMS. The OMS 28 2.7 litre car 9:03. Around Torres to Pardon. She will actually be followed up the hill by another OMS, but we'll take a look at that in just a moment. Now out of the S's. The time 44.46 seconds as the OMS 28 of Bernard Keffel, number 901, makes his way up the hill. To the S's comes Bernard. Shared machine. And suddenly there's a lot of smoke and a spin, in fact, for Bernard Keffel. So Bernard spinning out there on the outside of semicircle. So I suspect we may well have red flags. In fact, the red flags are out. Marshall's going to attend to the car, just stopped on the outside of semicircle there. So a little bit of a delay. Message from Jeddah Motorsport saying great coverage as always. I've booked the tickets, I'll be up tomorrow. Been a long time with no racing, so yeah, it'll be great to see you here tomorrow and hope you enjoy the action here at Prescott. We look set for a busy day. And Shirley Dunbar says, well done Debbie Dunbar, new personal best, my girl. Well done, Daddy, Tom Price from Holly, watching at home. That's from messages from Emma Price, but Holly wishing Dad congratulations on his performance here at Prescott today. So we're going to have to recover this car, of course, before we can resume climbing. Driver is out of the car and all looks fine. It's just a matter of getting the car back on the black stuff and away. Still more cars queuing up for their third practice run. Some more action to come. Watch some replayed action meanwhile. You see the smoke starting to come off before it goes into semicircle, and around goes the car. So it looks as if it may well have been oil being lost from the engine in some form, and that going onto the tyres, and that's what resulted in the spin there for Tom. But hopefully it's something that can be sorted out in time for tomorrow. Got one car, of course, stopped on the hill. Will I'm sure be returned for a rerun. In the meantime, let's remind you what else is to come up. We have the second day of this two-day meet tomorrow, of course, the 7th of 8th of August, a weekend not to be missed, I assure you, because it's the Vintage Sports Car Club with some fabulous machinery here using the short course at Prescott. Then on the 4th and 5th of September, the British Hillclimb Championship returns to Prescott for their second visit of the year. A one-day meeting for the Vintage Sports Car Club on the long course on the 25th of September, and then we round things off on the 2nd of October with the season finale. So plenty of action still to look forward to here at Prescott, and we hope that as the situation develops and hopefully things improve with the pandemic, we'll be able to welcome more and more spectators here to Prescott, and we can start to head back carefully and cautiously back to what might be described as normal. Meanwhile, recovery vehicle making its way up the hill to pick up the beleaguered car and enable us to get back underway with the action. That's the other thing to speculate on, is that if it was losing oil, how much of that is on the hill, and will there be much work involved in clearing the hill, making it safe for the remaining competitors. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. So the marshals will be checking the track, making sure there is no oil or anything that would be a problem for the following cars up there before we get back underway. Jack Cottrell, meanwhile, in the Delara, whose run was stopped by the red flags after that spin, he will be making his way back down shortly, I'm sure, for a rerun. Full range of medical facilities available here, of course, at Prescott. And, we always hope they won't be needed, but they're always here just in case. Hopefully not needed in this instance. Pleased to say the ambulance has been stood down, heading back to its usual location. So the work continuing then to recover this car so that we can get back underway with the remaining third practice runs for the single-seaters. It's predominantly single-seaters, I think, that are left to run, and hopefully we will have some more action very shortly. We've got some great action to look forward to tomorrow with the timed runs and not one but two top 12 runoffs to take place as well. It's tomorrow that all the, certainly with as far as the major championships are concerned, it's tomorrow that all the big prizes are decided. And whilst we wait for the action to get back underway, I'll hand back once again to Chris.
We'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our live stream partner for today's British Hillclimb Championship and Cup meeting, Footman James. BHC Cup main sponsors Footman James have been at the heart of the classic vehicle movement for over 35 years and provide specialist classic vehicle insurance to cover owners, collectors, restorers and traders. Their classic car and classic bike insurance policies come with show and events cover as standard. Plus, you can tailor your policy to suit your needs with their flexible FJ Plus options. These options have everything from agreed value to track day cover. And to find out more, please visit www.footmanjames.co.uk. Okay, while we are pausing, we've got a few more of our top runners still to take a third practice run when I think there's a little bit of oil clearing up to do. Let me say a bit more about the British Hillclimb Championship and how it works. It's 28 rounds, so it's 14 meetings, and each meeting has a couple of rounds of the championship, and people compete. They enter their names for the British Hillclimb Championship, so they are officially entered. And then during the meeting, they take part in their class runs. And at the end of the first class runs, the fastest 12 cars and drivers who've entered for the championship go on to have their runoff, top 12 runoff, and score points from 12 to the winner down to 1 point for 10th place, and then 11 and 12 don't score points. Then as the season goes on, competitors drop their 6 worst scores, and so the results are based on their 22 best results. Currently, Wallace Minges leads the way with a total of 142. At the moment he drops 51 points, so a net of 91 points puts him in the lead. But he's closely followed by Alex Summers, driving the incredible DJ Firestorm. Wallace, of course, is in the GR59 Gould. Alex has scored 137 gross, drops 51, same as Wallace, and so net 86, so he's only 5 points behind Wallace, and things might change this weekend. You never know. Sean Gould is in third place. Sean is our record holder here. He's got a gross score of 100. He drops 20 points, so netting 80. So he's still in with a shout. He's only 11 behind Wallace at the moment, and we are on round 17 and 18, so there are 10 more rounds to go. It's all to fight for. In fourth place currently is Scott Moran. Scott, 6 times British Hillclimb champion in his good GR61, which has been retired, and this year Scotty is sharing the Gould GR59 with Graham Wynne, and it's taken a bit of getting used to, and together they're sorting the car out, getting it really honed. So at the moment Scotty is languishing is the wrong word, but he's down in 4th place with a gross of 93 and a net of 65, so he's got quite a bit to make up, but gradually he tells me he's getting really tuned into the car, and this car will be a real contender for the rest of the season and next season. In 5th place is Trevor Willis, 3 times Hillclimb champion in the OMS, which he's had for a long time, and both in terms of overall weight and power, it really doesn't have the power to weight ratio of the Gould and the Firestorm, but does have Trevor's terrific skills at the wheel. And so Trevor at the moment has scored 83 gross, 59 net to place him in 5th place. 6th comes David Uren in the GR55, which incidentally is the car that still holds the course record at Chesley Walsh in the hands of Martin Groves, and David is 45 gross and hasn't dropped any scores, so his 45 gross is net as well. In 7th comes Will Hall. Now poor old Will, who has on numerous occasions come out top of the list in the Hillclimb Championship runoffs, had a horrendous accident at Gurston Down 2 months ago when a rear wing broke just as he was going through the kink at the finishing line at Gurston down near Salisbury, and the car went end over end and rode a few times. Fortunately, Will wasn't hurt and stepped out, but the car will need a great deal of repairing. So sadly, Will Hall isn't here this weekend, but we hope to see him out too. He's in 7th place. But closely behind him is Paul Hames with 34 points. Einon Price, who we saw having a mystery failed run just now. The car just stopped just after the line, and so that was a failed run. But Einon is in 9th place, and in 10th place currently David Warburton. David with Alan, his dad, in the GR59. He's in 10th place. So there's a lot to fight for tomorrow. So tomorrow we will have... Oh, hang on, I'm just looking at the screen. So Einon Price in 9th, David in 10th, Stuart Sugden in 11th, Graham Wynne sharing with Scott Moran in 12th, Simon Moyes in the red GR59 is 13th, Jonathan Varley with the tiny little beautifully engineered Raptor with its 2-litre V8 engine squeezed into the back is in 14th place, and then Richard Spedding, who was 4th in the Hillclimb Championship 2 years ago, is down in 15th with 8 points. So we're looking forward to a great Hillclimb Championship pair of runoffs tomorrow, and we'll kick off live streaming in the morning. Today we started, as you know, live stream at 1 o'clock. Tomorrow I think we'll probably kick off at about 10 o'clock. So we have the whole event live streamed, and if you're sitting in the States or in Australia or wherever, that'll be that'll be an early start for you. Middle of the night maybe in some parts of the world, but if you are watching this from some part of the world, thanks for joining us, and please join us again tomorrow. Well done to Stephen Moore in the Evo Tin Top, going great guns today, looked a great run. See you soon, Jeff. That's from Jeddah Motorsport. Stephen will know who that is. For those of you watching Prescott for the first time, you might wonder where in England Prescott is. Well, look at a map of England. It's sort of in the middle and off to the left a bit, near the town of Cheltenham, in the lovely Cotswold range of hills, and Prescott nestles in a fold in the hills, if you like. Is a beautiful countryside. It's got orchards all around, apples and various other fruits being grown. It's really an idyllic spot in which to have a garden party, spoiled only by occasional noise of racing cars. But it's a lovely place to come, and we really look forward to being able to welcome a full range of spectators back to Shelsley as soon as possible. And I think Peter mentioned the Vintage Sports Car Club meeting, where they've got 2 meetings towards the end of the year. First weekend in August is the famous Vintage Sports Car Club short course weekend, because when Prescott was first discovered, it was discovered by the Vintage Sports Car Club, who saw the estate was on the market and thought, hey, the drive up to the big house at the top would make a perfect hill climb. But unfortunately, they decided they couldn't afford to develop it, so spoke the words to the Bugatti Owners Club, who had a number of wealthy young people in 1937, and the Bugatti Owners Club jumped at the chance of making this their hill climbing home in the UK, and in an astonishingly short time were able to clear the track, build the track, and have their first run in 1938. So we've had some good anniversary celebrations in recent years. But the original track, if we can have a look at down at Orchard Corner, you'll have seen that in the old days the track turned sharp right. You rocketed under the bridge and then heavy braking and a sharp right turn, and then climbed the hill up to Pardon Hairpin. And then in 1959 the extension up to Ettores was built, which added a high-speed dimension to Prescott round Orchard and up towards Ettores. And we've run the long course ever since then, but traditionally, and maintaining the tradition, the Vintage Sports Car Club have their big weekend in early August on the short course. Red flags are coming in, which is good news, means a bit of oil has been cleaned up from the semicircle. But part of the fun of the vintage meeting is the incredible array of vintage cars parked in the car parks and fields all around. You'll never have seen so many vintage cars of all shapes and sizes, and many people spend the whole of the weekend in the car park talking to their friends, sitting on the running board, drinking champagne or whatever, while their more energetic club members race up the hill in their vintage cars. We will be streaming the Sunday of the vintage meeting. That'll be August the 5th, I think. And so that's the date for your diaries. We will shortly be back in action. Red flags have come in. Our clerk of the course will be coming back down the hill. And we've got some of our front runners coming to the start line. Vintage Sports Car Club, August the 7th and 8th. And out from the paddock comes the Empire Evo. Starter motor spinning. So no need to spin the tires. And this is Jack Cottrell. This is the Dallara. It isn't an Empire Evo, it's the Dallara Formula 3, but with a Nicholson McLaren Indy engine in the back. It's a new combo for this year. John and Jack Cottrell sharing this car. Takes a bit of getting used to all that power, but a brilliant start by Jack, 2.39, and then he lifts off quite a lot for Orchard Corner. So still getting the hang of this car, sensibly, not going crazy. Nice tight line round Pardon, and then on his way towards the S's. looks as if it's John in the car at the moment, not Jack, finishing with a time in the early 60s, I think, 59.25 for John Cottrell. Now here's Graham Wynne, who is sponsoring the runoff tomorrow in his Gould GR59. He's sharing with Scott Moran. 4-litre Judd engine in the back, similar car to the one being driven by Sean Gould. Masses of power, featherweight, and it'll be quick under the bridge, 100 miles an hour. Sean told me that he was still accelerating past the end of the timing beam, so his 105 is actually near 110 or so, or maybe more. Graham and Scott really enjoying developing this car together, sharing points on driving of it. Scott, 6 times champion in the earlier Gould, the GR61, and Graham nears the finish with a 40.76, gives way to Lindsay Summers, sharing the DJ Firestorm this weekend with her son Alex, who lies second in the Hillclimb Championship. Terrific power from the XD Cosworth V8 engine, 2650 engine developed by Cosworth for IndyCar racing. So at Indy, with a turbocharger and methanol, would have produced something like 1,000 horsepower. Lindsay doesn't need that much to get her up the hill. Will she be under the 40-second mark? Not quite. It's a 45.17. Here's our record holder. On the line, Sean Gould, maker with his dad of the fabulous GR59 and lots of other engineering products, some of which for Formula One cars. Again, a 4-litre Judd engine in the back of this tiny little GR59. Record is in the 35s. Sean, 106 through the trap, probably means he went round Orchard at 112 or something. Brilliantly designed car. Carbon fibre tub, constructed of 3 different grades of carbon fibre, depending on whether it was for crash testing or for heat resistance. It's a very complex piece of equipment. 36.97 for Sean. So, David Uren in the earlier model of Gould. This is the record-holding car at Chelsea Walsh. David Uren takes a nice late entry into Torres, and we'll see how he gets around rapidly around Pardon. And we'll focus mostly on the bottom of the hill. I think we've got a problem with the camera at semicircle. Sean's record, 35.41. Will it come under threat tomorrow? Well, of course, it depends on the weather. David did a 37.87, David Uren. Here's Paul Alexander in the 1300 Force PC. $35.41. That time was set, I think, in September 2019. Of course, last year was very much interrupted by COVID. Paul heads towards the finish. We're waiting for another car to come out of the paddock. You can see it nosing its way out. Is it the Coleys? It is. Paul Alexander, 44.32. This is the GR55 of Andrew Coley with a 2.5-litre V6 engine built and designed by Cosworth but labelled Opel for the DTM, Deutsche Tourenwagen Meisterschaft, German Touring Car Championship. And the Coleys have had this car and engine combination for, wow, more than 20 years. Still having a lot of fun with it. It's getting nice and warm. It's steaming slightly from the back, but no harm done, I don't think. Earlier technology, I think it is a paddle shift. But Andy takes it off the line in a good 2.43. Hasn't got the grunt of the big V8, so 99 into Orchard. Highly experienced hill climbers, both of them. They know the right lines to take at Prescott. We will fix the semicircle camera before tomorrow. Maybe the mice have got at the cable. In the meantime, Steve Owen, Mr. OMS, on the line in the OMS 28 this year with a 2.7 litre Partech V8 engine, and Steve and Lynn are getting used to having a lot more power than they've had before. 93 through the trap, late braking into Ettores. And I guess he's using every inch at the S's. Check on his time. I think Steve will be in the 39s probably. Let's see. No, just over the 40 mark. 40.40 for Steve Owen in the OMS 28. Our current champion and leading this year's championship, Wallace Minges, down from Scotland in this fabulous Gould GR59. With the Indy engine bored out to 3.3 litres. .2.04, that's the quickest start I've seen today. That's terrific. Anything around the 2-second mark, remember that's 1G of acceleration. Wallace, final practice before tomorrow. So this doesn't count for the championship, but it's a way of getting really comfortable with the car and the hill before the class runs tomorrow. Let's check on the time. It might even be in the 35s. Let's see. Clock ticks away. Not quite. 36.84. Quick enough. And he gives way to Neil Coles in another OMS 28, but this with the smaller 1600 Hayabusa engine. Still, I think with the transverse engine, therefore a chain drive back to the back axle, which is tidy and neat and easily engineered. And so Neil might just creep under the 40-second mark. Let's keep an eye. Meanwhile, Alex Summers in the fantastic Firestorm. Wow, 109 on the clock, 43.8 for Neil. Alex, who was a bit of a star at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, driving the extraordinary McMurtry fan car, which you might have seen snips on from Goodwood, said it was a great experience. Now, can Alex get in the 35s? Probably will do tomorrow if it's dry. No, it's a 37.34. 37.34 for Alex. Remember that these guys tend to preserve their best set of tyres for the runoffs. They're sure to qualify in the class runs, so there's no point in going crazy until it's the runoff time. Here's the Cottrell car, the Delara. with its NME Indy engine. This is Jack. We saw John earlier. Warming up the car for Jack. They told me it takes a lot of getting used to. A bit of understeer around a Torres, almost flirting with the kitty litter on the outside, but everything gathered together. Jack well on his way into the S's. Again, we'll keep an eye on the clock. My guess is a 39 maybe. No, just over the 40 mark. 41.12. 41.12 for Jack Cottrell in the Dallara. Now then, 6 times champion Scott Moran, having his first season in the GR59. He shares with Graham Wynn. Graham is the sponsor of the runoffs tomorrow. 111, that's the quickest today through the bridge speed trap. Quickest I've seen anyway. Scott, brilliant driver. He was down at Prescott Speed at Woodward a couple of weeks ago. Really enjoyed it, as we all did. Now Scott's not going crazy, but I think it'll be in the 36s, 37s maybe. 37.99, good run by Scott Moran. I can't see any more customers for the hill, I have a feeling, and the clerk of the course is going up the hill. So that was our last run of the day. Appropriately, 6-time champion Scott winding up the day. It's been a great day of competition and practice on Prescott Hill. We've been blessed with dry weather. It's been cloudy, but that's okay. Let's keep our fingers crossed for a dry day tomorrow. We're live streaming from about 10 o'clock. Class runs and 2 runoffs. In the meantime, Chris Druitt and Peter Hughes signing off, and we'll talk to you, I hope, again tomorrow. We'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our live stream partner for today's British Hillclimb Championship and Cup meeting, Footman James. BHC Cup main sponsors Footman James have been at the heart of the classic vehicle movement for over 35 years and provide specialist classic vehicle insurance to cover owners, collectors, restorers and traders. Their classic car and classic bike insurance policies come with show and events cover as standard. Plus, you can tailor your policy to suit your needs with their flexible FJ Plus options. These options have everything from agreed value to track day cover. And to find out more, please visit www.footmanjames.co.uk.